What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of A Fighter's Story. You guys came here for Thanh Lee because you definitely did not come here for me. I had a great time talking with the dude. He's super positive and driven by the love he has for his family. I needed some of that positivity, and man, did it help out. I don't want to disclose too much about the episode, but we did discuss his ugly finger, and I'm pretty sure I got flipped off for that one. All jokes aside, I had a great time talking with Thanh. He's a very positive person. Sorry, apparently I can't talk today. He wants nothing more than to provide an ass beating in the cage as fast as possible, and with his 100% finish rate, he makes it look easy. So that way he can get home to his little girl, get back to being a dad, training, and coaching. I'm sure you've had enough of me, so I'm just gonna kind of shut up, get out of here, and let you listen to the one, the only, the ONE FC featherweight champion, Thanh Lee. All right, Thanh Lee, thank you for coming on, man. I genuinely appreciate your time. Everybody seems to know that you are the featherweight champion for ONE Championship. You recently defeated Gary Tonin. I watched that fight, and being a jiu-jitsu guy, it hurt. It hurt me seeing you beat the shit out of him. He was not going to let that ankle lock go, man, or that heel hook. It was just over and over. But yeah, you beat him, and now you're calling out Volkanovski. You're wanting to unify these belts, and you also have a 100% finish record. What some people may not know is kind of the story about how you got to where you are now, coming up through Louisiana. So I was kind of hoping we could start there, just kind of walk us through the life of growing up in Louisiana and end up where we are now.
Yeah, man, it's been a journey. It's been long, and it's been I tell you what, I hear a lot of people always talk about enjoying the journey rather than focusing on the destination, and that's been hard for me to do that. And I have a really tight circle around me. I've been lucky enough to have a group of guys and family members and a family that reminds me to do that on a regular basis, and that's not something that comes natural to me. I'm a very goal-oriented person, and throughout that entire journey, it was all about, where am I going to land? Where am I going to end up? Am I going to make enough money to make this journey worth it? Like the stuff that shouldn't matter, it starts to matter a little bit when you don't get those things. It's easy to say, like, it's not about the money when you're making money. It's easy to say it's not about the success or the wins and losses when you're winning. But when you're not making the money or you're not winning, then or you're kind of in the middle ground. It's a little hard to deal with, and I've dealt with that on a regular basis. But yeah, it's just having a great circle around me to remind me that the journey is the beautiful part. And growing up in a martial arts family and kind of going through that path and taking up fighting and kind of just diving head first, full in on that has been so awesome, man. It's definitely been a change of pace for me, and yeah, I love it. I love every step of the way, and it's taken a while to enjoy the journey, but that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, because you grew up in like a Taekwondo background, if I'm not mistaken, Louisiana. And Louisiana is not known to be the nicest place to grow up in. Were you taking Taekwondo kind of as a self-defense thing, or was it a discipline thing your parents got you into, or kind of how'd you get into it to begin with?
Yeah, so that's an interest, I guess, a different story, because my dad did Taekwondo and martial arts ever since he was a kid back in Vietnam. And then he came over to the States, established his life here, established his family, me included, obviously, and that whole thing. During that entire process, he's always been in love with martial arts. So he's always done, like kung fu, dabbled in judo, but mainly Taekwondo has been the focus for him. He taught, he's spent years and years getting good at that. And then he has a school here in Metairie, Louisiana. So I grew up doing Taekwondo on a regular basis, daily, in class really wasn't a thing. My whole childhood memories were traveling, going to tournaments, whether it was the local circuit or going to nationals or US Open or whatever the case. Trials team and stuff like that. So my goals as a kid and the fun things for me as a kid were a little different than what guys were used to. But no, it definitely wasn't a self-defense thing. I did it because for the martial arts side, because my dad was so involved. My mom eventually got involved. My brother obviously is involved. So it was kind of a family thing there. And then we really stayed away from any of the unsafe areas. We're about, 20 minutes out from like middle of New Orleans. So, we didn't grow up around any kind of crazy, dangerous stuff. We also stayed away from that type of thing because I was too busy going to class every night, and leaving school and going straight to the gym, So that's one thing that I always preach to like the parents and stuff that I talk to is get your kids involved in anything really, but martial arts I love because not only does it keep them out of trouble off the streets for the most part, it gives you tools to understand how to stay away from trouble, and if you do run into it, how to deal with it, and so that was my entire childhood. It's just martial arts family, martial arts friends, martial arts hangout groups, going to bowling on the weekends every Sunday or Saturday with the guys from the Taekwondo school. My first girlfriend was from the Taekwondo school. Like that was my entire life, man. Like it was and I wouldn't change any part of it, honestly.
Yeah. It's funny when I talk to some of my friends and they find out that our school has kids class for jiu-jitsu and for Muay Thai. And they're just like, why would you want your kids to do that? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, I've seen kids coming in that are just badass kids. And within a couple weeks, they're a lot more behaved just in the gym. The parents are coming up to the coaches, thanking them. There's so much more to it than what you think, the violence or the combat actually is. It is an art form. There's a huge amount of discipline that goes into it. So it's definitely something that I believe people should get into. I wish I got into it earlier, actually.
I agree with all of that, man. It's like, yes, I guess I don't want to say unfortunately, because that's my favorite part, but the translation of it to the outside world is the violent part of it, right? Like you're kicking people and punching people and doing this and doing that. But really, God, it's taught me so much. Like my parents accompanied with martial arts hand in hand, having a good set of coach parents, like people don't always fall into that. I understand. But that shaped me as a human, as a man, like how to respect people, how to, whether or not they might be acting a little shitty or not, like how to, conduct yourself in a professional manner with respect, with honor, how to treat people that aren't treating people great, how to treat people that are treating people great, how to problem solve, how to be calm in stressful situations. Like, God, it's just so much that goes into it that it's like, it's not just one or two things. It's like, it literally shaped me as a human. And I can't praise martial arts enough for that.
Yeah. So with you coming up in Taekwondo and having more of like that refined, I guess you'd say, like just the one discipline martial art, how did you get into MMA with that being more of the violent, mainstream combat, that everybody kind of looks at as the negative side? How do you get into MMA?
It's a funny story. Okay, so we grew up doing Taekwondo, going to tournaments, all this, right? I have a buddy of mine, Carlos Vera, just had a fight last Sunday, won by guillotine. Shout out to Carlos, awesome job. And my brother, my dad, and my mom, and my wife, we all went to just a local show somebody gave us tickets to. I kind of didn't even want to go. But we watch these local fights, and Carlos and I and my brother Vin are like, man, it's not too far off from what we already do. It's just got a little, obviously different arts mixed into it, but like it reminds me of tournaments, except it's a little more bloody, a little more violent, right? I'm like, this is cool. Like this is way cooler than I thought it was going to be. Maybe we should try it out. So I would never recommend this to anybody, and it was a little ways back, so the skill level in general amateur MMA was a little lower. So we just signed up for fights with zero training. It was the dumbest thing.
Dear
Yeah,
God.
yeah, exactly. You laugh like that now because you know, and
Yeah.
I had no idea. We're idiots, you know what I mean? And I felt like I was a relatively, like educated young man at 26, but that was so stupid.
Who even
Anyway,
cornered
we
you?
signed up for fights, and we signed up for fights. Oh, give me 1 second. I apologize. Let me get this crying baby settled.
Yep.
Mama. All right, so we go to the show, we sign up for fights, and before we have any training, we go to and pop into a gym. What happens to run into my current head coach. So we have this guy Tran, shout out Tran, and my current head coach Sean Gayton, who I didn't know at the time, and we're going through just basic like how to get up off the ground, underhook stuff.
Right.
This is how you throw a punch. Like I think about 2 months of that. And we took our first fight and got so lucky. We both got first round knockouts. Lucky is the word. And we've been in love and training like we're behind schedule ever since.
That's crazy. And so was your amateur record, were you undefeated in amateurs as well?
No, so actually the fight right after that, when we started taking training seriously, I ended up losing and getting grappled to death. And so that was, I was 13-1 as an amateur. I had a lot of fights because like, I'm not like boasting or anything, but I had to take a lot of fights because a lot of them ended in the first round. Like they were quick knockouts, you know what I mean? So I didn't get a lot of ring time. So we got a lot of fights to kind of make up for that. I wish I could go back and just make all of those fights, even if I thought I could knock them out in 10 seconds, just make them 3-minute rounds and get the experience, but that, didn't do the best job of that. I was kind of trying to do what I knew and ended up hurting people and getting some quick knockouts. But 13-1 as an amateur, and then obviously now moved on to the pro situation.
Yeah, definitely. How's the hand going, by the way, with all those knockouts you've been doing?
It's ugly, and it's the finger is not so pretty, but it closes. It makes a fist. I don't think about it when I train. It's off in another world, so it doesn't affect me at all, and it's been good to go.
Yeah, I was watching an interview you did where you did like some x-rays, you thought it was fine, and then like 5-6 weeks later a hand surgeon decided to chop you up a couple times. So is it gonna continue to be this ugly nub that you got, or is it gonna eventually go down a little bit?
Thanks a lot. No.
Yeah, you're welcome.
No. So I could make it look like the rest of the fingers.
Yeah.
The issue with that is that takes recovery time. So when I initially talked to him, he's such Dr. Eric George here in Metairie. He's so good, and he really cares about what we want, as patients and fighters. And I was like, I want to be back ready to go as soon as possible. He's like, okay, it's going to be ugly, but it'll work. It'll function. It'll be as tough and rugged as your other fingers, and you'll be good to go. I'm like, cool. Yeah. I'll make it pretty after I quit. Like after I retire. I don't need that right now. And I didn't want to take like the extra 8 weeks of recovery to kind of go through that. And I was already kind of in a crappy mood in general because I had 3 surgeries on that same finger. They finally got it settled, but I was just ready to kind of get back and stop being a patient and go back to my old ways of training every day and doing my own thing,
Oh yeah, no, I have cancer, so I have to deal with doctors a lot, and it's this really weird, dumb thing, but dealing with doctors, you feel like a number, like just way too many times. It's just like you're in the waiting room, they'll make you sit there for 20 minutes. What if you were 5 minutes late, they'll cancel your appointment. And it's just this system it doesn't work, but I completely get the recovery time with me. I was just wanting to get back in the gym, wanting to do something, and just physically couldn't move that much, so you had to, and then having to rebuild that mental callus or physical callus too, of getting back into the gym and feeling that pain again and getting over it and everything. Have you been able to get back into the gym and kind of get like full on? Is your hand like good to go now, or are you still kind of held
Oh
back?
yeah. Well, first of all, I'm gonna say sorry to hear that, and I hope everything's heading in the right direction. So
Oh,
good luck on that
well, thank you.
with all that. But yeah, that's one of the good things is I've been lucky to run into. So my wife's in the medical field. Also, she's a nurse in an emergency room. So we've happened to have like good referrals and things like that. So that I haven't run too much into the numbers thing, and I'm sure you see or saw or see a lot more doctors than I do. So I understand where you're coming from on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took a while to get back. But one of the things I always preach to young fighters is like, man, don't let something physical stop you from being in the gym, being around your people, your training partners, watching class and learning. Mental reps are just as important as physical reps, especially when you're going through some shit where you can't physically perform and you need to be around that environment because yes, going to physically drain myself and roll and punch the bag and spar and all this is so like almost detoxifying here and here in the heart and the body. But being there mentally does the same thing for me, man. Like just talking martial arts with people who understand what I'm talking about, just watching people perform and roll and kind of seeing things from the outside and critiquing things from the outside and stepping a little bit into the coach role, stuff like that, like being around that. If you enjoy it, like I enjoy this, I would genuinely be doing this even if I wasn't getting paid to fight. I would still be doing martial arts every day. Obviously I'd have some kind of job, some kind of income to create that, but I would still be doing martial arts. I love what it's all about and I love what it is, so I will do that every day. So if it's something you actually enjoy, surround yourself with that. Whether you can perform physically, you just need to sit on the side, you just need to be at home watching YouTube videos of new techniques or old techniques. Like, don't let yourself. So I'm very habitual. So I'm telling y'all my flaws here and how how weird I am in certain scenarios. But I'm very habitual. So if I take a day off or something like a 24-hour period where I actually don't physically do anything martial arts or mentally martial arts or step into a gym, like I kind of the next day it's one or the other. I either can't wait to get back in there or I fall into like a routine of like, oh man, I kind of don't want to go today. I get a little weird socially too. So not being around people or guys for a while and then kind of stepping in and going back into that environment is a little weird sometimes too. So I tell these guys to keep that routine going if that's something that affects you, and watch class, read martial arts book, watch YouTube videos, do all those things to keep you in it here. So when you can physically go back to do it, you almost didn't miss a stride. And that's
Yeah.
something I have to focus on. I did that with my jaw surgery. I had a couple plates and stuff put in, and that was a shitty wired shut situation for 4 weeks. The finger thing, shoulder surgery. Like I've had a couple of things where I've had to take some time off. And God, if I hadn't followed those like little rules for myself, it would have put me in like a little depressed state probably. I could feel myself going into moods like that, and I have to pull myself out.
Yeah, I know. Like for me, Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu, it sometimes I get this reset. Like in the middle of class, it'll almost be I'll mess up, my brain just stops, and then for the rest of the day, I'm just a little bit calmer, a little bit. It's like this little mental reset of, and especially on the days I don't want to go. That's I always have the best workouts on those days. For some, just as soon as I start sweating, you get over it. It just works out that way.
That's how it always is, man. I don't know
Yeah.
why. I don't know what it is in here or with the human body, but I feel like everybody says that, but it's the fucking truth. It is the
Yeah.
truth.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So we all have our struggles and like need those resets and things like that. And you've had, now you've had the jaw, the finger. Getting you out of the gym does put people into like that dark space, that depressive space. Sometimes we just can't get away from it. What are you doing to get yourself out of it aside from martial arts? Because that can
So
be a really depressing place for sometimes.
besides martial arts, because we've already talked about like how big of a piece that is of my pie,
Hmm.
it's my family. I'm very family oriented. I spend way too much time with my family. It's awesome. I love it. Like it might be too much for other people, but we're really close. We're like oddly close. I hang around my parents. It's pretty much me, my brother, my mom, my dad. Like it's us four, and then obviously we have our significant others and all that good stuff. Um, but like for my circle, it's mom, dad, my brother, my wife, my kids. Like that's the innermost, tightest. See you every day. I see them at the martial arts school where I teach because my dad still teaches. I see them obviously at night, during the day, like all the time. I train with my brother. He's my coach, so he's in all my practices. So being around family for me is huge because it's a big pick me up. They know me so well. You know, my wife will start, you know, whatever she's doing, sometimes you don't want her to, but she'll drop everything she's doing just to try to pull me out of a funk. And I'll try to do the same when things happen with her. Like it's definitely like a partnership relationship between all me and these cogs in this system. But spending time with family is big. And then honestly, like on nice days like this, being outside helps me a lot. And like, I don't care if it's just in my backyard with blowing bubbles with my daughter or something, or going to, you know, push her in a little car out front. Like just being outside helps is such a big piece.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was it like to be able to sign that one FC contract? And then I don't remember the time, but it was like under a minute or something you got the win. Um, and what's that like to be able to like come back to your wife and say, you know, all this time, the struggle going into it? Because what people, well, a lot of people know this, but you don't make shit. Fighters do not make any money, you know, until you get those bigger promotions. And even then, you know, the money still isn't there until you win and you're higher up on the card. So what's that like, you know, to be able to turn around and be like, you know, we did it, I won, this is real, you know, and yeah.
What's interesting is the money situation has been kind of a big piece because I feel like I've been brought myself to a skill level where I can start earning some big dollars and finally getting onto a bigger promotion. But you know, the I really wasn't happy with where the money situation was until this last fight. And and I had the belt before that. I beat Martin, but
Mhm.
I beat Martin on a small check and something I felt honestly a little disrespected by. But it's the way it works, man. Like you do. Fighter pay is not where it needs to be. Obviously, I feel like, in my opinion, one does such a better job than some of the U.S. promotions on profit sharing. But still, fighters in general, this industry just doesn't make a ton of money in the fighters' pockets. So that was a struggle, like mentally, to go through dedicating my entire second of every life to trying to get good at this thing that I didn't even know if it was gonna pay off in the end, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why, bringing it back to the first question, like just understanding, like I enjoyed martial arts, I enjoyed performing in front of people. So, you know, I would also obviously have to figure out a way to take care of my family, but I would do this no matter what. I would do this for free. So I'm very grateful that that I'm able to make good money now, you know, doing what I love. And yeah, I actually, so what's funny is my wife knows that bugs me a little bit. So I'll come back home and be like, hey, that was a lot of money for 56 seconds. And she, you know, and she gets mad because I get mad about the same thing. I'm like, God, that was 18 months of training. That was 10 years of preparing. That was
Yeah.
8 years of working with Ryan Hall on a daily basis, moving up to Virginia, moving back home, putting my family through all this shit just for that 56 seconds. And God, guess what? It's fucking worth it, man.
Yeah. The great thing about you, in my opinion, is and I know you got to get out of here pretty soon, but is you're not in it for the money, and it shows. You know, it shows very obviously when you speak publicly about trying to unify the belts, you know, and you're trying to do it by beating somebody who is a savage, you know. Not to say you're not, because I mean, 100% finish rate, most of them under a minute. Like that fight has to happen at some point. With your career kind of being built up to this, and now with fight promotions, who knows what's going to happen? Like with Triller and all the crazy bullshit that's going on over there. What do you see kind of happening next for you in your life, personally and professionally?
So there's a few branch offs that, you know, so I try to approach fighting with, you know, in an intellectual way, not only like, hey, I gotta be fast and powerful and good, but like be smart about how you approach the game. Be smart about how you approach fights. Be smart about how you approach opponents. I try to do it everywhere in life. I'm not always as successful, obviously, but I try, you know. And so that's had a lot of thinking has gone into that. And there's a few routes, you know, that we're going to explore. I think the immediate step during the transition of fighting is getting a little bit into like film and things like that. And that's definitely something I want to explore because I really enjoy that. You're right. I do this because I love it. So the next things that I'm going to do aren't really going to be, it's going to be the same thing because I happen to find a little success this way. I'm going to follow this path because I believe it's the right way to do things, whether it's going to pay me or not. You know what I mean? Film happens to have a little bit of money in it, but you know, same deal. You can go through film really long time and not make much money at all. But I like that side of things. I like the action scenes. I think that's really cool. You know, I'm not really in it for like the fame or anything like that. Same deal with fighting, man. I feel like I'm approaching it the right way. I do things what I think is the most honorable and correct way to do things as a human, as a man. And I think that's will carry me in the right direction. Film and being a gym owner and a coach. Those are two pieces that I really have a passion for. And then I think it's not just an obvious step from fighting to coaching. It's something that I think I'll be really good at because I've taken an intellectual route to fighting and not just going out there and being the toughest dude on the planet. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I will fight through anything. I will die in there. But so will everybody else, you know? And if you quit and you really don't have that heart, cool. It makes my fight easier. But if you do, cool. I do too. What is going to separate us from that point on? And being smart about the way we approach the game, strategically, tactically, what weapons we choose to use. I think that's going to carry past. And I think that's the way I think is the best way to fight. If I knew of a better way, I would do it. So I obviously think that's the best way to fight. And that's what I want to pass along to whoever's coming out here and trying to learn a little bit about martial arts and how to fight and follow these dreams is, yeah, do it how Mayweather did it. Do it where he can still have a conversation and talk to his grandkids when he's 80 years old. You know what I mean? And I don't care if my fights are exciting or boring. I happen to knock a lot of people out. Now I'm very grateful that I do end every fight one way or another. And that puts on a great show for the fans. And I really am happy that I'm doing that for people so they can get some joy out of what I do. Don't get it twisted, though. I am not going to change the way I fight to get in a certain promotion. That's been proven. I'm not going to change the way I fight because I believe it's the right way to do things. And I want to be able to talk to my grandkids in fucking, 50 years. And that's what I want to pass along. And that is the way to fight, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that you stick by your morals, and it's very high ground and a very positive moral standpoint to have. So I like that.
You're breaking up just a little bit. Could you go through that one more time?
Oh, I was just saying that I like that. I like that you stick by your morals, and they come from a very like high standpoint, from a good place. So that you don't see that very often. But yeah, all right, man. I will go ahead and get you out of here pretty quick. You want to go ahead and let us know kind of where we can find you if you got any fights coming up in the future. I'm not really sure if anything's been announced yet or if anything's in the works.
Yeah, nothing's been announced, but we're aiming for the summer. So maybe, I don't know, July, August, something like that. I'd like it to be a little sooner, but we'll see. But I think I'll be back in there relatively quickly, especially with this big US push with Amazon Prime, being on Prime Video, and all this cool stuff coming out at once. So yeah, if y'all want to find me, I'm pretty much Tan Lee MMA everything. Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, TanLeeMMA.com. Check out the merch. I've got a couple shirts out. We're trying to come out with some other stuff soon. And just want to give a shout out to Paya Seasoning. Thank you guys for the support, and Dipnotic Detailing. Y'all check them out here in the New Orleans area. My boy Brandon taking care of cars out here, making them look beautiful.
Definitely. All right, man. I appreciate your time. It's been an honor to have you on my show. Genuinely appreciate it. So you go enjoy your family time, and it was nice talking to you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
All right, thank you.
Good luck with everything, man.
Thank you. Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to A Fighter Story, listening to the entire podcast. Honestly, thank you means a lot. Go ahead and follow us on Instagram at A Fighter Story. We're on Patreon at A Fighter Story, TikTok through A Fighter Story. We are everywhere at A Fighter Story. And I just want to go ahead and recap the fact that I just talked to Thanh Le, the ONE FC champion. That's pretty dope in itself, just to say that. The fact that all he's ever known is martial arts, growing up in the family business of Taekwondo, signing up for his first fight before he even started training. Then went out and found a gym, got some training partners, got 2 months in, and knocked the guy out almost instantly. He has a 13-1 amateur record, 13-2 pro record. He's a brown belt under Ryan Hall, 5th degree black belt in Taekwondo, and obviously now he's the 155-pound featherweight champion of ONE FC. Obviously, he's a really good dude. He was fun to talk to on and off of the podcast. So I want to give a huge shout out to him. Thanh, thank you for your time. And I also want to give a huge shout out to the show's sponsors, the Fight Nutritionists and Apex Massage. Go ahead and hit them up on Instagram. Show them some love. And if you need any tips or tricks or anything like that for nutrition or for body mechanics, definitely hit them up on Instagram. And I am going to let you go. So thank you again for tuning in to another episode of A Fighter's Story.